And then allow yourself, if you need to, that freedom to have the indulgences on the night out. But if you eat right 80% of the time, your body, in all likelihood, so long as you're not dramatically metabolically damaged, will be able to cope with that intake of food. I'm going to skip over this section because we're running out of time, but there are 3 body types. You can't change your genetics. You can optimize your personal genetics. But building on that, there are certain traits within our DNA that can be turned up like a volume switch or turned down through correct exercise and nutrition. So you can, to a degree, affect a change. I'm going to move really briefly now in the last 2 or 3 minutes onto exercise. I'm a big proponent of high-intensity training. I know Anthony is as well, so I assume a lot of you guys have seen some of the videos that 21 Convention's already put up from Doug McGuff. I'd encourage you to read Body by Science by Doug McGuff as well. It's an excellent introduction to high-intensity training. You only need to exercise for 15 minutes once or twice a week to get everything that you can from exercise. And a really simple routine would consist of the pull down, so the upper back and the arms, leg press, hips, thighs, quads, hamstrings, adductors, calves, they're all getting hit there. Chest press, chest, deltoids, triceps. Row is a pulling movement through a horizontal plane rather than the pull down, which is through the vertical plane. And one more exercise, but I haven't got on here, the overhead press. That's essentially the big 5 routine. If you're looking to start off high-intensity training, that's the routine I'd encourage you to start with. You're getting the biggest bang for your buck. You're covering all the essential muscle groups. And by doing a set that lasts between 60 seconds and 2 minutes and reaching fatigue in that time frame, you are doing everything you can to switch on the body's growth processes. Okay, I'm not going to go through the benefits now. If anybody wants to talk more about high-intensity training or Twitter me, I can get back to you with more information. Recreation is also important in addition to high-intensity training, so do things you enjoy. Be aware that every form of exercise has a risk-reward ratio. Just be acceptant if you're going to do something like skydiving of the dangers, or if you're going to do marathon running, be aware of the impact it's going to have on your joints over time. If you're okay with those risks and you enjoy it, carry on and do that stuff as well. Exercise in the brain stimulates, this is beyond the physical benefits of exercise, it stimulates the creation of new neurons, it protects existing neurons, promotes learning and memory, and reinforces neural connections. So beyond the physical, internally in our brain chemistry, exercise has a function as well. The outcomes from today's talk, I hope you've learned to improve your ability to cope with stress. Key point there is awareness. How to manage and improve your energy levels. Key point there is to eat a high-fat, moderate protein, and moderate to low-carb diet based on evolutionary principles. Keep yourself fit with high-intensity training first and foremost, and then enjoy your recreation time as well, and a greater understanding to care for yourself. Be aware of both your psychology and your physiology to get the most out of your life. And some recommended reading: Stress Management by myself and George Phillips, The One Diet, or for those who don't need all the science, The One Diet in a Nutshell, Body by Science, and the goal-setting book I mentioned earlier, Change Directions. Thank you. If you want to get in touch with me, there's my details. I'll be happy to field any questions now.
You mentioned being aware of breathing when you're kind of working and stressed. And I've kind of noticed that I do sometimes get shallow breathing in a particularly stressful situation, but it's very difficult to stay focused on that and continue to do something else. So how do you kind of keep that
So it needs to become an ingrained pattern first. So what I would encourage you to do is just to take some time. Ideally, if you know you're going to be going into a stressful situation whilst you're on the tube, in your car, or you're getting yourself walking to that meeting or whatever, is to focus on your breathing and focus on breathing deeply. By saturating the system with oxygen even before you've got there, it's going to encourage you to stay relaxed in that environment when it comes about. And by doing that repetitively, you're going to be developing that skill of breathing in that way, and ultimately it will become natural for you to do that even under stressful circumstances. So it's like build up that pattern. Anybody else? It's over here.
Hi, coming from a paleo diet for about a year now, I've recently seen some evidence that perhaps carbohydrates aren't so bad if they come from the right sources, particularly Stefan Guyen. I don't know if you've heard of him. So what are your options on that? Because I've reintroduced, potatoes and sweet potatoes and have seen some benefits. So I was wondering what your opinion on that was.
So for people who are not metabolically damaged, who haven't got metabolic issues with massive amounts of excess weight, I think that certain carbohydrates can be happily introduced into the diet. White rice, sweet potatoes, even regular white potatoes too, to a degree. And they can even make up quite a decent amount of your diet as well. They're very low to non-existent in anti-nutrients. So from that standpoint, they're fine for you. Particularly people who engage in a lot of physical activity, they're going to be beneficial for because they're providing more energy. So I have no problem and encourage people to use those who are not metabolically damaged, who don't have dramatic amounts of weight to lose. James.
Hey, I was going to ask you actually about a controversial topic, your ideas on the food reward stuff going around the paleosphere at the moment. But instead, as you kind of touched on the more sort of recent ideas on reintroducing safe starches and things like that, would you be able to expand more on what you said about with regards to stress? And you said about change being a really big source of stress, change in people's lives. Could you expand more on some of the potential kind of physical and health consequences from change in someone's life and what that could have with regards to someone's health?
Yeah, anytime that you're putting an excess stress on the system is going to be damaging either psychologically or physiologically over time. There was a slide that I took out of today in minimizing this about acute and chronic stress. Acute stress is something that happens in the moment, whether it's physical and we get a cut to the arm, or whether it's psychological, a stressful situation we're posed with that's going to last 5 minutes. And the body can recover from those really well. What it doesn't recover well from is chronic stress that's ongoing. And that would be if you repeatedly damaged your arm or you were constantly felt under stress. And by the way, it doesn't matter whether that's real or imagined psychologically, both have the same impact on our system. And that slide that I put up that had all the sort of consequences of that, sort of the physical manifestations of that. What we are looking to avoid is being in a chronically stressed state on an ongoing basis. Short doses of acute stress can be beneficial for us, like high intensity training, for example. Does that answer your question? Okay. And we're there. So thanks for your time and attention, guys, and enjoy the rest of the conference.